the founders I work with are using Claude and AI. But there was a question came up saying, look, I put this into an LLM, and I'm curious because I'm trying to work my CRM, where how do we codify a recurring revenue versus a one-time revenue. And so I asked Gemini, and Gemini said, yes, you need to separate the two out, which was the right answer. With all that said, the context was not given. And I said, what's your North Star? Is it recurring revenue? And so, yeah, I believe that. I believe so. It's recurring revenue. And I said, well, if it's recurring revenue, first and foremost, why would you ever take even a one-off deal? That means you're defocused. You shouldn't be taking one-off deals. And if the one-off deal is a pilot, that means actually that the deal isn't closed. You're actually you're in the process of closing the deal, which means it's part of the sales process. So what your LLM is telling you is not inaccurate, but it doesn't have the context of the entire picture because it was not given that. And maybe you would have given the right answer. And actually what it spurred was a strategic conversation, because this little question about CRM actually has a more impactful discussion and decision to be made, right? There's a similar example where we asked Claude to build two financial models, one that will take the company cash flow positive, and one where we assume will raise a Series A. And the financial models were amazing, but there was other contextual information that was not included, which is, look, we could close one of these deals this year, and what happens if we do close that deal? And I said, what we need to do is two other scenarios where maybe Claude wouldn't tell you this is, if we want to raise a Series A, if they call that plan A, and we don't hit the metrics we want to, and we need to delay everything by 6 months, what does that financial model look like? And in this organization, there is too much revenue concentration in one deal. But if we close another big deal, which is likely, there's a high probability we could this year, then we actually solve that revenue concentration problem, which means that we can actually raise potentially sooner than we thought. But Claude didn't have that detail. It didn't have the context, right? And so we have to make sure we provided the full picture. Otherwise, it's just going to give you what, the old saying, garbage in, garbage out, is still relevant with AI. That hasn't changed. So you gotta ask yourself, am I giving it all the information to give me an accurate response back?